Fullmetal Alchemist, Rise of the Lightning Alchemist, by Callum Lyle 9. 3 months have passed since the death of the father and the promised day. A new face seeks out Edward and his brother, an alchemist that can produce lightning. Somewhere in the far north of Fort Briggs, a mysterious being is creating clone versions of the deceased homunculi. Together, Edward and the alchemist head north, but what awaits them could reveals more than they realized. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, The Rise of the Lightning Alchemist. Prologue. Rob was bleeding badly from his sides, leaving a trail of red behind down the concrete hallway seeping through his long dark coat. He could hear them coming for him from the clanking of the pipes. One was of a hysterical high laugh with the sound of smashing ground. Almost out of breath, his skin turned paler than it was before. Grinding his teeth, his hands sparked, pressing down hard, he screamed, burning the wound closed. Stopping for just a moment, he wiped the blood from his tattooed hands, both tattooed with the circles atop his hands. The wall exploded behind, covering his red eyes as dust blew through his black hair. He ran with only a glimpse over his shoulder. Its fingers were round and lumpy, tearing away the rubble, rolling on his pot belly. Gluttony. The homunculus sniffed the air, grinding down the rock in his mouth, yelling to the other two from the mist. She caressed Gluttony's bald head, licking her blood-red lips in delight. The other grinned with long spiked hair, wearing dark shorts and a vest showing his stomach. "When we capture him and bring him back, can I chew off his legs so he can't run again?" Gluttony drooled like a starving hound. "You can eat as much of his legs as you want, but we still need him alive in order to succeed with our mistress's plans." Lust's seductive voice ran a chill through Rob's spine. "Enough talk! I want to hear him scream!" Envy charged, smashing the ground under his feet. Rob swung round, clapping his hands together, smacking the floor in an electric spark. The pipes exploded into a wall of ice, blocking Envy's path in a sudden surprise. Rob smiled, glimpsing the three through the wall. "Tough talk from a bunch of weak copies," heading down the hallway. Baring his teeth, Envy's fist smashed through in a fit of rage, leaping over the sharpened shards of ice. "And there he goes," Lust sighed. "Gluttony, what are you doing?" Munching on the ice blocks, drool ran under his jaw, hearing the crunching bouncing of the walls. "Let's keep moving. We can't let him expose our plan." Rob made a turn, leaping past the empty rooms. He could hear the homunculi approaching closer at an incredible passe, as if near his ankles. Making a final turn, he pulled the pin, throwing the grenade. Leaping through the smoke, the he fell high towards the ground. Turning, the three jumped after him. Lust unsheathed her fingers, grinning wildly, swinging her arms like knives. He kicked away her arm, grabbing her left, throwing her over his shoulder. He grabbed Gluttony's nose. Pulling himself, he swiped Envy across the face with one kick. "Ah, what are you doing?" Gluttony panicked. "Safe land, fat boy." Screaming Rob pushed off the creature, smashing into the ground as he landed safely without any wounds. The room was gigantic, like the entrance to a tank hangar, but this where he needed to be. She came out, striking past his shoulder. He turned and swung just by Gluttony's bite. Suddenly he grabbed from behind and meeting the wall hard. Falling to his knees, his wound was giving way, not knowing how much longer he could seal it. The homunculi looked down on him like a weakling, helpless insect, brining smiles watching him suffer. "I wouldn't call that weak from a copy, eh, little boy?" Envy laughed. "Even if you do bring him here, it won't stop the mistress's plan." Lust smiled as Gluttony licked his jaws. Rob grinned from their gaze, clenching a fist. He raised his arms at the ready. "I doubt that, but if he does get here, you'll all be wishing you'd stayed dead." Envy charged first. Rob swung, grabbing the back of his head, smashing it into the wall. Punching Gluttony, he turned but missed Lust, jumping back on the ceiling. Firing her claws, Rob quickly charged the floor, firing ice at her to the other wall. Gluttony came again, biting off a piece of his coat. Again and again, the fat homunculus bit savagely, missing every chance he got. Rob punched him again with his heel, sending Gluttony to the ground, and drew out a match, snapping it into flame. Screaming gluttony rolled engulfed in the fire. Rob breathed deeply, wiping the sweat from his forehead. Envy came down like a torpedo, but suddenly he was grabbed by the ankle and thrown into the concrete wall hard. Lust zigzagged wildly, trying to near him. Every swing she made, Rob dodged, only made her blood boil. He leaped back and kicked her and rolled from Gluttony's pounce. Burnt and bleeding, the fat one grew impatient as Lust grinded the floor with sparks. Only copies, huh? Envy came from the dust, bruised and bleeding from his eye. Well then, if you want to see a copy... Rob glimpsed Envy's arms sweeling and growing. Then I'll show you the power of a copy! Screaming into the air. 2 sets of arms burst from his sides, his entire body molded and grew into the color green with a tail and roared. His roar shook the ground, blowing back Rob's coat, standing his ground. The monster grinded his teeth, roaring at the young boy, staring back. Suddenly Envy's skin sprouted, the disturbing moaning of the fallen roaring from his sinking skin. Rob snarled at the disgusting sight. Gluttony pounced but missed. In the air, Rob clapped his hands, but Lust fired herself, smashing into the wall again. Trapped with her breast pressed against him, struggling to hold back her arm. "Behind you," he whispered. The two leaped by Envy's punch. Backflipping, he lit a second match, firing it down on the monster. Enraged tendrils fired from his mouth. Rob missed the first, grabbing onto the second, riding it down to Envy's head. Grabbing his saliva, he changed it into a blade of ice. Jumping off, he stabbed it hard through Envy's skull, screaming from the pain. He missed the ground-shaking smashes from the monster, making his way out into the open. The homunculi, enraged and bleeding, snarled like the monsters they were. Rob clapped his hands, and something happened, shocking the creatures. The electric charged through his fingers, forming a tiny ball of lightning. Opening his eyes as if glowing blue, he fired from his fingers. Gluttony leaped, but Lust was hit, smashing her into the ceiling. She came back screaming, with claws seeking blood covered in burns. Rob fired again, and the homunculus screamed and exploded into the dust. "Lust!" Gluttony screamed, smashing into the ground. Rob turned and jumped by Envy's tail, firing on the creature again, screaming. He could hear the pieces of him screaming on his skin. Rob charged back at Gluttony and stabbed his fist, trough his stomach. The lightning blew up inside of him. The creature fired his tongue. Rob leaped back and stabbed with another icicle. Struggling Envy, panicked, clawing into the ground. Rob's eyes met one of them. "Please help me! I can't live like this! Help me!" He clamped his hand over the fallen's face. "You're not real," Rob said. "You're just a piece of this monster that's need to put down." And crushed it. Raising his arms, the clouds outside formed and swirled, flashing through the sky, and he slammed his arms down. The roof exploded, the snow sparked blue. Envy screamed in such agony, engulfed in the lightning that tore through his body like butter. His skin tore away the fallen into the dust, until finally the whole room exploded. Rob threw open the steel door, breathing heavily. Badly wounded, his arms were burning with exhaustion. He felt the snow under his shoes, making his way through the night blizzard. Looking back, the bunker disappeared by the fog, but he could only look forward, piercing the way with his red eyes as he made his way south. "I promise I'll bring him here, and I'll find Fullmetal. Edward Elric."